Trust the process. Pain is power. All great things take time. I am unbreakable. Unbreakable.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Unbreakables podcast, episode 6. I am your host, Jay Murga, and this is my brother and my co-host, Gift the Poet.
We have something very, very special for you guys today, episode 6. Now, these brothers that we're sitting with, we're about to introduce them right now. They are the creators of the Let's Get Real podcast. These guys are full of wisdom. They're full of light. And what we want to do, guys, is we want to impact you guys in so many ways. One of the brothers here today, just 3 years ago, he was scrubbing toilets. And now what he's doing is he's impacting the world. He's an owner of 2 businesses, 3 BMWs, but it's not about the materialism. It's not about that. It's about making a difference in this world. And without further ado, we'd like to introduce the Helaly Brothers.
Yes.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. That's an awesome intro. I got to learn something from you guys.
No, so first and foremost, dude, we just want to take the time to say thank you guys for coming here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And to share your story with us.
100%.
And, you know, as I don't know if the audience is aware, but we met you guys on Omar Elattar's The Passionate Few.
Shout out Omar.
Mastermind. And, you know, since then we're able to connect with you guys.
100%.
And we're grateful that we're able to establish a friendship and, you know, change lives together.
Well, we're honored to see you guys grow. We've talked about it a lot. You guys have hit the ground running. There's not a single word that was communicated to all of us at the workshop that you guys didn't take, you know what I mean, with all seriousness. And I saw you writing down notes. I saw you asking questions, being engaged, and that's something that inspired me. That's why I was like, okay, these guys are going to get more attention than me. I got to sit up front. And then Gift, talented individual, man.
Drop the beat, man. He's probably going to drop another beat today, right?
We
We
might,
drop another
man.
one. That's awesome.
But what we really want to dig deep, we want to do a deep dive into where you guys started, because oftentimes you don't meet individuals that have such wisdom as you guys, that have
Appreciate
such
it,
ambition and
Thank you,
positivity. A lot of times it's easy to hate, and it's
Yes.
very, very difficult to love.
100%.
But when you surround yourself with people that are like the caliber of your guys,
Thank you.
you know, we can't help but we want to understand where you guys come from. Where did you guys get all of this positivity and all of this motivation?
Well, it wasn't always there.
100% no, it wasn't.
Definitely not. We were probably some of the most negative individuals you'll
Some of the
ever
most
meet.
depressing people you'd ever be around, for sure.
Just average guys, but if you want me to take it all the way back, we grew up, born and raised in New York City. We saw our parents struggle in the beginning, of course, as any immigrant parents that came to the country. My dad had a pretty good job, but just so much uncertainty being an immigrant in this country.
Yeah. I think the beginning of like our true struggle when we were like that you can remember is after 9/11.
100%.
9/11 was probably one of the toughest parts because I don't know if you remember this. You probably do. We were walking once. My mom, she wears the headscarf. I was like 9 or 8. He was like 6.
I was like 7.
We were coming back from the library. You know, it's a good day. My mom bought us candy, so we're excited. And this old guy, I'll never forget his face. I still remember his face till today. Old white guy riding his bike. So you can tell when there's something's gonna happen, right? Like you can feel it. This guy rides his bike, pulls up to us, stops, and you're a kid. You're like, what's going on? Like, why is this person stop? Looks at my mom, spits on her, tells her, "Bitch, go back to your country."
Yeah.
Now imagine your mom having to explain to a kid why this person did that, and you didn't fully understand it up until maybe later on. But I think that's the beginning of where like this world is fucked up.
I think what that told me at the time was, okay, we're not in the right place, because I had friends obviously from the same ethnic background as me who didn't experience that. When I told them for them it was like completely foreign, so I realized that the place that we lived in was on the lower economic scale, you know what I mean? So I don't want to contribute that entirely to my ambition, but that's what sparked inside of me that I have to take care of my family. 100%. And how can I take care of my family?
And that was sparked at a very young age.
Very young age. And I remember our first business venture as kids, we were selling books. We were just...
the book sale on the street.
We sold a fucking book.
No, but I think our first true venture, cause I'm gonna kind of jump ahead a little bit, was for me. I was in middle. You were in middle school too, right?
No, but take
Slow it down a little.
Yes, let's step by step, because that's like 7 years of my life that you didn't talk about.
Nothing happened
Amir
in those
has a lot
7
to
years.
say.
Hey, bro,
Get that
I was
clear.
always I grew up pretty well. I would say we had a good family dynamic at a young age.
Yeah.
Growing up, me and
We had our
Ahmed have
problems.
always been super close. Everything that we've ever tackled, we tackled together. He was the bigger brother. You know what I mean? My older brother. Anything that he did, I wanted to do.
Oh yeah. We remember the time we went to Old Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went clothes shopping, and everything he picked out, I just came. So
He just
I just so happened to have it in my hand.
He's like, I want that.
But yeah, growing up, I could talk about my struggles pre 9/11, post 9/11, but I always felt like I was different. I think every single person here, I know you guys, I go to sleep every single night thinking, okay, I'm not the average guy, because I meet a lot of average people, right? I meet a lot of average thinkers. People that, for me, it's completely foreign for someone to accept the fact, okay, well, I'm just going to work, take 3 months or 2 months off of the year, go on vacation every single year, then come back to my miserable life.
And just get comfortable.
I couldn't, my entire life, I could never accept that, because I didn't see my father present in my life at all when I was a kid, and I think that was something that pushed me in a med.
18 hours, dude.
My dad used to work
what
18
hours.
Was that due to his job?
Yeah, my father was
He
a
was working
doctor,
2
so he
jobs.
worked 2 hospitals.
Wow.
He worked 2 hospitals and
6 days a week.
6 days a week, exactly. And even on his day off, you can imagine, after working so much, he doesn't want to spend time with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think growing up, we saw that, we didn't understand it, and when we got older, we understood it, because at a later stage in our lives, we saw the fruits of his labor. We saw all the stuff that he really worked hard for. But as a kid, you don't want the money to invest in a business, or maybe some help when it comes to buying your plane ticket to come to California on your own at 21.
You just want your parent
You
there.
just want your dad there. So we realized that at a young age, but
It taught us a great lesson.
it
though.
did.
It
It
taught
did.
us a
And we're
great
jumping
lesson.
all over the place, because
I
there's so
know.
much that I want to share, but now knowing what we know today, we can always reflect back on that, the things that we saw as negative, and say, hey, you know what, this brought us closer together.
Yeah.
This built a relationship between us. And not to jump off topic, but I know you guys shared your story, which was so impactful for me, because me and him can resonate with that. You guys
100%.
talked about all the struggles you went through, and it's beautiful to see the dynamic between you. You guys had 2 sisters here yesterday, so
Yeah, and it
Yes.
feels great to just have siblings in the room. It's family ties.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I think that's what even shocked us when we met you guys at the mastermind. We're like, wait, you guys are brothers? And then they're sisters, and then we're brother and sister.
exactly, yeah.
Like, I think it's great, because now, like, everyone's coming in unity
Mm-hmm.
and accomplishing their goals together
100%.
and building each other up. And I think, it was just so powerful, like, even starting this platform, having my brother side by side with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's why we really wanted to get you guys on together.
And that's why we were excited to be here as well. The dynamic is we can bounce things off of each other. And just
Absolutely.
again, seeing you
100%.
guys working in unison, it just reminded me of how me and him as kids, we didn't even realize that we were working, but we knew without communicating. I'm pretty sure you guys can.
Oh yeah.
You guys
we could just do one. Like we would have a task. We didn't even have to talk about it. Everybody
it was
knew
never
what they were
communicated.
doing.
It was okay.
It was
Well, this has to be
awesome.
done. I'm running to this room to grab that. He's running to the other room, and it's not like okay. It's not like a man. Hey, go grab that. I'm gonna grab this. No. And I'm pretty sure you guys have the same
So it's
dynamic.
one of those
Yeah.
things you have to utilize each other's strengths.
100%.
Because there's things he's really good at. There's things I'm good at. Things I don't think I'm good at. He's like, no, you're good at that. And it's just, we're in sync.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
turns into
Constantly.
to group flow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just harmonious, and it works out great. But let's get back to, you said your dad was working about 18 hours.
18
hours a day,
days.
yeah.
18-hour days. So that kind of showed us that, like, the lesson I got from that was you're gonna have to give something up. There's nothing in life that you're gonna get without giving something up.
Right.
So it's kind of like figuring out, is this worth it or not, right? Now, if I keep going on to that, I'm gonna jump onto something else. So
But I want to challenge that. I
Go
want
ahead.
to challenge it, because that was the impression that I was under my entire life. I always thought that I had to sacrifice one thing for the next. I thought if I wanted to make more money, hey, I can't go to the gym anymore. You know what I mean? I thought if I wanted to be in shape, then I couldn't have a social life, because at every stage of my life when I was really fit, I didn't have a social life. I would miss going out, partying, and doing all that just so I could go to the gym. And anytime when I started making money, I had no social life for 3 years, because I came here 2016 on my own, no plan, no nothing. I just bought a ticket. I was like, this is the place I want to be. And I just imperfect action, right? I came here, I
Right.
figured things out, and I'll talk about that. But the reason why I want to challenge that is because my mentor Omar challenged him when he said it to me. When you hear your thoughts coming out of someone else's mind, and remember how he said at his workshop, if you want the permission, you have it. You remember
Yes,
that? That's
yeah, I remember
powerful,
that. Very
right? Because we're
powerful.
all seeking permission. We all want permission. And anything that you tell yourself is self-professing. So if you tell yourself that you got to sacrifice something for something, then you are going to sacrifice. I remember Omar, I was telling him, I was like, I don't know what to do. I want to make money. I love making money because I can provide for my family and do all this, but I wasn't happy. And I think I mentioned it to you guys.
Yes.
I was the most miserable person in the world. The most miserable few days of my life, I was staying at, was it the Ritz-Carlton? Or
The Ritz-Carlton in Atlanta.
in
Georgia.
Atlanta, I was staying on like the 34th
Oh, yeah,
floor.
it was a beautiful
I had a
view
view
of
of the
the
entire
city.
city. They were celebrating me by name at the company reception.
You were
It's
miserable.
that was, dude. He had to drag me out of bed to go to the award ceremony.
So to bounce forward to that, how old were you? How long ago was that?
Oh, this was like
This
4
was
or
a
5
few
months
months ago.
This was March.
I think it was no.
Wait,
it was,
February, because it was before I flew out to New York to get married.
I think it was February.
February.
No, it was after. It was after the engagement. After you got engaged.
Okay, yeah, I got engaged
I
in
think it was
January.
in March.
Was
Sometime
this,
in March.
Was this before the mentorship?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
this
it
was
was
before,
March.
and this was something that sparked it. I'll get to that, but yeah, the most miserable
Yeah,
days of my
because you
life.
came back right away and you got into the mentorship from Atlanta.
I did, I believe so.
I think it was sometime in
Yeah, it was around that time frame.
May,
But
June.
yeah, to back up real fast, because I still want to emphasize on what we were talking about. Omar asked me, he's like, who says that you have to give something up to get something? He's like, he asked me, he's like, do you believe in God? And we come from the same faith. So I was like, yeah. He's like, do you think God would have made it to where you would have to lose something to gain something? And I was like, no. He's like, do you think God purposely wants you to feel like you're not living a fulfilled life in order for you to gain material wealth, or in order for you to provide for your family? And the moment I switched that, I was like, I can have everything.
You can have everything.
I can have everything. I can. And that goes back to affirmations, right? You got to tell yourself
Yes.
affirmations every single day. And I saw you a few days ago, I think it was yesterday, you
Yeah,
posted
yesterday.
yeah, beautiful, man. I welcome money in abundance. I welcome multiple streams of income, and they flow to me naturally. You know what I mean? Because what you tell yourself, if you tell yourself it's going to be hard, it's going to be hard regardless.
gotta
But
think.
Amir, that's the thing though. It's you are who you hang out with. Your friend. You show me
Yeah.
your friends, and I'll show you your future. Dan
100%.
Pena.
Yeah.
But you guys have always been together growing up. Like your friends, did you guys ever have a circle where you just realized
did.
we're partying and
100%.
you know I'm picking up these people's thoughts?
100%.
How old were you when you realized that?
I was always a free thinker, and I think Ahmed was as well.
Yeah.
And I was never influenced by the way that I thought, but I was influenced in my actions. You know what I mean? So I was always the same person. I always thought, not that I'm better than anyone, but I always felt like I had a purpose. And I always felt like I was too good for the things that I was doing, whether it be partying, drinking, doing this, and that. I felt like I was too good for
So
that.
you always knew inside.
I always knew, I was like, this isn't for me, and I was just doing it because I was influenced by peer pressure. But I was that guy, like, before we hit the club, I'm like, yo, let's just go home, bro. I said,
I'm a homebody, man.
bro, you see that? They got a special on buffalo wings, you know what I mean?
Let's go there.
That was me. So I wasn't influenced in thought, I was influenced in action.
I love that.
And I had to remove myself from that environment, and I think Ahmed can
Yeah.
speak on the same.
No, definitely. We growing up, we usually hung out with the same. We hung out a lot together. Like,
All our lives.
yeah, we had one phone.
We did
We
for
had
the
one
longest
phone,
time when we were
one cell
yeah,
phone
that was
together
funny.
for like a few years. One cell phone. One person would carry the money.
Yeah, whenever we had money, whenever we
Oh,
got our
and
allowance,
you
yeah.
guys aren't even twins.
No, not even, but he's older than me by about 2 years, a year and 11 months. But we just always had like the same circle, same friends, same interests, because I was very influenced by my brother, and he sparked so many great interests in me. History, Ahmed's one of the biggest history buffs that I know, and he pushed me, or not pushed me, but showed me, you know what I mean? He introduced me to it.
Age of Empires 2.
Age of Empires 2,
Age of
yeah, that was
Empires
one of
2.
the
If you
first.
guys ever heard
I
of
don't know
that
if you
game.
ever heard the game. It's a computer
No,
game.
no.
It's a history.
Yeah.
It's a game about history. I'm a huge gamer, by the
Yeah.
way.
Nice,
Putting
nice.
that out there.
But yeah,
Shout out
so,
all the gamers out there.
but yeah, we've always had that dynamic, and we always did things in unison. You know what I mean? I remember one time we were like maybe like I was 10, he was like 12. We were playing GTA. We couldn't beat this mission
Oh,
because
yeah.
we didn't have enough hands on the keyboard. And I had to like control one part of the game. He was controlling the other with his 2 hands. I was on the 10
Like I
keypad.
think, like our dad forced us to work together. Like he might not have been present there, but it forced us to adapt and to kind of rely more on ourselves. So we became more of a team. It's like, okay, well, you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, so we can get this task done. Or it wasn't all good, don't get me wrong. Like there was some stuff. It's like, okay, well, you're gonna steal that, and I'm gonna steal this. Not from stores,
Not from my dad. Like, my dad would take away our toys or whatever.
Like TVs and stuff. It's
Yeah,
like, okay, well, you're gonna take this, we'll take this, and we'll make it work. We'll find ways.
Yeah, we used to be creative.
We were
very
very
creative as kids, but yeah, that's the thing. My dad, you have one computer, you have one cell phone, you have one TV, figure it out. Yeah. And of course we fought.
Definitely.
But now, you know what that translated
crazy.
later on in our lives? We both own our businesses together jointly.
That's amazing.
We have the same bank account. Literally, I have access to all his money. He has access to all my money. Never will I ever think my brother would do anything. When I count my money, I'm counting his money too.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
So if I have X amount, he has X amount, well, I have X power too. That's what I have.
There you
That's
go.
how it is. If I want to buy something, I'm using his money. And he's using my money. No problem. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And we've always split costs. Like always. Like if he wanted to buy something that was a little bit more pricey than what I bought, well, I'm paying a little bit more, you
Yeah,
know. And that was always fine with us.
Yeah, can we do a deep dive into your entrepreneurial endeavors?
100%.
You had said that you guys started selling books at a young age.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this was the first taste of money we ever had, and I remember it very vividly because that was like, oh shoot, you can actually make money out of nothing. Okay, I hope we're old enough. Child Protective Services is gonna do anything. It was me, my brother, 2 of my cousins. I was like maybe 6, 7, right? You're not supposed to leave. Don't leave your kids at home if they're 6, 7, but especially in New York, don't do that. But we were just bored out of our minds. I remember we were like, what do we do? What do we do? We had like this old ass Sega and we're blowing into the games trying to get them to work. It wasn't working. You remember that?
Yeah,
You gotta.
I remember that. You gotta blow into it.
That wasn't working, so we just came up with this crazy idea. Let's set up a table, and we lived on like this second story, so we're like little kids. I don't know if you consider us toddlers or whatever.
No,
you know?
I don't think we were toddlers, but
It's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the case may be. They're little kids, you know what I mean? I'm like 50 pounds wet. And we're carrying this big old table. It's probably the size of that like 3 times. So we're carrying it down the stairs. Like, okay, now we set up shop. What are we gonna sell? You know what I mean?
Wow.
None of us had drugs at the time, so.
I remember we got a piece of paper and we started making flyers and putting them on.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to that because I got in trouble for that. You remember?
The cops came that day.
Don't ruin the story, bro.
Bro.
You gotta have a build up and then the
Okay,
climax.
gotcha.
But yeah, we were like, okay, what are we gonna sell? What are we gonna sell? And we just started collecting anything we could: toys, books, stuffed animals, and I'm like, okay. We set it up and we're just standing there for like 10-15 minutes. Nobody's coming. We're like, okay, we gotta let people know. So we're even thinking about marketing and advertising at that young age.
Such a young age.
I swear.
Do you remember how we did the pricing?
We just what are you gonna pay for it, right?
No. I remember there was the prices on the
back of the book. You know how on the back of the book it says like $2.99? We'll give it to you for $2. I swear to God, man. And you know what we did even then? But let me tell you the story about the flyer. So we wrote that we drew the flyers book sale on this address. And I, for some reason, the youngest one out of all of us, was labored with the task of putting up the flyer. So I run down the street to the telephone pole. And I don't know, I had tape. Or I had like a Band-Aid. I think I had a Band-Aid. I was like, we don't got tapes.
Bro, you taped it up. It wasn't that bad.
I don't know, maybe
But
my
you had a
mind
book.
was like, yeah, I had a book. But then I'm taping it to the telephone pole. And a cop comes. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, shit. I'm young, but I know the cops are no
Yeah.
good, right? No, I'm kidding. But he's like, what are you doing? I was like, we're having a book sale, sir. You want to buy some books? He's like, you can't put it on there. He said some shit like you're gonna get arrested or
Fine.
I ran. I heard fine. I was like, I'm out of there, bro. I literally ran away from the cops. That's it. I ran.
We
bro.
made some good money though.
We did, but what we did was even smarter. We brought a jar. I'm like, okay, how are we gonna encourage people to buy something from us? So I think my older cousin, he wasn't old. Like he's 11. I was like 7.
Yeah.
And Ahmed was
Couple
like
years.
yeah, Ahmed was like 9. He's like 2, or like 10, I think. But then Like, okay, we gotta show him that we've been in business, right? We're an established
Right,
business. So
right.
he had like $6 change in his
He
pocket.
had like a 20, bro.
He had like a 20
he
and then
had good
singles.
money.
And then some singles, right? And we put it in the drawer to give the impression that, hey, we've been
You're
in
making
business.
money,
Yeah, people
yeah.
want to
People
buy
would
from
buy.
us. So you should buy from us
We
too.
didn't get many sales, though.
We didn't. Someone shut us down.
We got 3 sales, and then someone complained to our parents, and they shut us down.
Yeah, our parents shut us down.
We got
so.
3 sales, but they were pity sales. That's the thing. Like, someone's like, "Oh, there's kids selling books. Okay, I'll just give you the money." It was.
That
nice.
was like the first taste of money that I had. And I remember I was so bitter because all the money that we made, I think his parents confiscated
They
it,
did. They
man.
took all the money.
And I can't tell you, for like 3 years, all I could think about was that $20 in the jar. I swear to God.
He's like, "I want that."
I wanted it.
So was that what triggered it, that you guys wanted to always, become an entrepreneur?
I knew that I wanted to make money. I didn't know what an entrepreneur was.
Yeah.
And even if you would have asked me at the time, do you want a job or you want to start your own business? I just want money. Right? I
No,
don't know.
but for us, it's always been we don't want to work for someone. Like we've always said it. We want to start a business. People will be like, "Oh, well, what do you want to start?" I have no idea, but I know I want to start a
That's the
business.
thing. That's the
So you
thing.
always knew.
Yeah.
So let's move a little forward. So how did you guys owning your own business and establishing that? How did that come to your guys' mind?
So I'll tell you this. It
So I
started
want to
with,
kind of go into the whole the second business that we had in school.
oh yeah, this was like in middle school.
That
This
was
pretty
where
interesting. It was
really
pretty
kind
fun.
of that was fun, and that was where I was like, "Oh, well, I actually kind of like this." So, do you guys remember LimeWire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LimeWire. We turned that into business.
No?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
I'll
was
tell
like in
you
the
how.
8th grade. I was like in the 6th.
I was in like 9th grade. He was in 7th.
No, 6th. You were in 8th. I was 6th.
No, it was in EAS because
Yeah.
I was in 9th. You were in 7th.
Okay.
You guys are babies.
No.
Essentially.
We're kids, yeah. So, not many people knew about LimeWire at the time, and everybody wanted music. Everybody was into music, so we came up with the idea of, well, it was during the time where like the DVD burners were out,
Yeah, I remember that.
so you could burn music onto CDs. So we came out with the idea. We're like, okay, we'll start selling songs. Well, you got to pay us $0.25 per song.
Oh wow.
20 songs, we'd make $5 on the CD, and then we'd make them pay for the CD too. But the beauty of it was I had someone downloading the music, I had someone burning the CDs, and I had someone delivering it and taking the money and giving it to me at the end of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was-
whole process.
I had
We
a
did. We had
process.
systems. We had systems as
back
kids.
in the day. But the school shut us down.
The school shut
School
us
shut
down.
us down.
Yeah, you
You
can't be
guys were just
silent.
naturally good
Yeah,
at
I
it.
made some money there.
But yeah, to go back to your question about our businesses, what made us start? I came to California 2016,
Yeah.
just fresh out of college, bought a one-way ticket, had no plan, no nothing. I just knew that I did not want to be in New York because everyone around me, he was living in Wisconsin, for
Yeah.
God's sake. He wanted to get out of New York, so he went to Wisconsin. I was like, I'm not going to Wisconsin.
So was that the first time you guys were actually apart?
Oh, that
Yeah,
was
that
the
was the
longest period.
longest.
First period and the longest period.
From October
October
2015 to
March 2017.
Oh wow.
A
Yeah,
year and
a year and a half.
Yeah, almost
Oh,
a
a
year
year
and a
and 5 months. That was the longest I didn't see him, and that was
So
like
how'd you do it? How'd you guys
it was difficult for me. It was difficult. He
Yeah.
at the time was living with his friends. I didn't want to go to Wisconsin. I knew there's no place for me in Wisconsin. What am I gonna do? You know what I mean?
Right,
I'm not churning
right.
butter. You know, I was like, there's no place for me.
It's cow tipping, bro.
I'm not cow tipping either, but I knew I was like, okay, well, if it's not New York, I don't want to be in New York. What other city's welcoming? Right? You always got to consider. I'm not going to Mississippi either. You know what I mean? I'm not going to Alabama. But yeah, I was like LA, and of course, the thing is, living on the East Coast, everyone's dreams to go to LA, because on TV everything's like super glorified. And I was in for a shock when I came because I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get a cup of coffee with Tom Cruise when I get there. You know? Yeah, a cup of coffee down the street, you'll run into
Tom
someone,
Cruise.
and it was completely different than what I thought, because I was under the impression that it was bright lights and fancy cars, and there are fancy cars, don't get me wrong, but then you go to downtown LA, when you leave the airport, you're in Inglewood, like, bro, where am I? Like, where?
So let's talk about that. When you guys first got to California, what was your first step?
So
into,
I came to Cali a year and a half before he did,
Yeah.
or a year, because we were separated before that for 5 months, but
Oh yeah, no, yeah. You
yeah,
came
a
February.
year. I came February, he came March 2017, the following year. So I came, no plan at all. I just knew that I wanted to be somewhere else. I wanted to find myself, and that was big for me. I wanted to reinvent myself, because growing up, I wasn't wise, to put it that way. People never looked up to me. People always looked down on me, and he can attest to this. Everyone was like, you're either gonna end up in jail. And I got in trouble a few times when I was younger, you know what I mean? You're either gonna end up in jail or you're gonna end up dead. And people wouldn't associate with me because I was just so angry all the time, and I used to fight, and I used to curse, and I used to do this and that. I 2.3 GPA throughout my entire college career. You know what I mean? I wasn't like the most polished up college students. I wasn't a model person.
Yeah.
I was probably, if they had to vote, I would probably be the least person that they would expect to succeed in life. So I knew in order for me to change who I was, I needed to change my environment. I think you spoke about that, Gift.
Yeah.
You made mention of it. I saw it. And I was like, okay, well, I have to do something drastic. I can't just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to skip the pond and go to Jersey. You know what I mean? Or move out of my parents' house and still have to live in the same circumstances, same friends. And like we were talking about earlier off camera, the friends that you surround yourself with. I was like, who of my friends inspires me? And not to say anything about my friends. I have great friends. I have great family. They're beautiful individuals. But when I was looking at every single person, I was like, would I trade lives with them? Is there something that I would want that they have? Is there something that they can teach me that I don't already know? And I was like, no. I was like, and I literally analyzed every single person that I knew I would have probably hung out with at the time if I would have stayed there. Like my circle of friends. I was like, okay, this guy's been working at a diner for 4 years. This guy's been in college for 6. This guy's been working at a call center all his life, and he has a degree in this. I was like, okay, yeah, that's not me.
So you knew something needed to change.
I knew I needed to find myself, and to go back to my father, because my father's my biggest inspiration in life, and I know he's Ahmed's biggest inspiration. Our dad has made us who we are, or who we are.
Yeah, whether he meant to or not.
Exactly. And we realized that we gave every bad experience with my parents a new meaning. And that's something that we learned through Dr. John DeMartini, because we attended his breakthrough theory.
That was life-changing.
That was absolutely worth it. But again, just so we can stay on topic, my father growing up, being an immigrant to this country, had such an amazing story, right? A story of just perseverance, a story of rolling the dice, you know what I mean? Struggle, ambition, willingness to change his entire life, because I moved from New York to LA. I didn't move from like another country to another country. My dad didn't, he could barely even speak the language, you know what I mean? And growing up, I heard that story over and over and over again. Every single time my dad would say it, there could be an earthquake, but he has my attention. Like, that was so powerful for me, hearing how my dad, when he first came, he was working at a diner, and he was sleeping in that diner on route whatever, you know what I mean, between like New Jersey and Philadelphia, and he never lost vision of what he wanted to do, and that was become a doctor in this country. And
It's amazing.
yeah, and he made his dreams come true, and that's something that inspired me. So I always asked myself as a child, I was like, what story am I going to tell my kids? Am I going to tell them that I lived in my father's shadow for the rest of my life? Am I going to tell them that my dad bought me this car?
Wow.
Am I going to tell them that the house that we're in, dad bought or grandpa bought? I was like, I can't have that. And that for me was like, okay, well, and it was more to prove my dad wrong, because my dad's been my biggest critic my entire life. You can't do it. You don't know what you're talking about. Just listen to me. I know better. I'm wiser. I'm this. I'm that. And granted, yes, he is older. But I was like, you know what? Let me show you. Let me show you.
So you went against the grain.
I went against the grain, and we grew up pretty privileged, I would like to say. You know what I mean? Our parents.
We had a decent life.
We had a very, very, very comfortable life growing up, monetarily speaking. Never had to worry about money. Didn't go through a lot of struggles that a lot of people did. So I literally took everything away from me. Every luxury I had, I stripped it away from me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you did that yourself.
Willingly.
At what age was this?
I was 22. I had just turned 22.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen often.
I knew that in order for me, and you should see how much respect my father has for me today. So that for me is like my ultimate win. My father talks to me today as if I'm at the same caliber as him.
Yeah.
He never discounts me anymore, because he knows, and anytime he speaks of me, he's like, yeah, my son Amir, talk to him. Talk to my kids. Talk to my sons.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone wants to do anything, talk to my boys.
Wow.
And you have no idea how much that ignites a fire inside of me.
He sees that action in you.
He saw it. And no matter what we face, he's like, you guys will figure it out. My father, and I'll talk about him a lot on this episode, and I'm glad that you guys have given me a platform, because I really want him to watch this, because he's been my backbone throughout my life, you know what I mean? He's inspired me in more ways than others. Or more ways than not, sorry. And then Yeah, so I just knew I wanted to have that story, and I stripped myself of everything. And Ahmed did the same thing. He went to Wisconsin, lived with a few friends, and it wasn't the best, and it wasn't the worst. And my situation wasn't the best or the worst, but it's like being used to a certain life and then having everything taken away from you, and knowing that you did it, and going to sleep every night. You're like, okay, is this really worth? Because I'm not gonna front like. I'm not gonna front like, you know what I mean? Like, I was confident through it all. I had nights where I was like, what am I doing? Yeah, he took me in for 3 days. He let me stay at his house, and then I found a job at the gas station at a liquor store, and I moved into a room. I was renting a room from this old Russian couple, and I was there for like a good amount of time, like 3 months. But I remember I worked at the gas station. I remember the one thing that I always reflect on whenever times get tough. It's the first day I started working at the liquor store and gas station. I was happy.
Wow.
I was happy. I was so excited. I would finish my work, go back to him. Hey, what else do you want me to do? Is there anything that I can rearrange? Is there anything I can lift and put in the back?
You were hungry.
I was hungry. You know what I mean? And sometimes when I lose that hunger, because you get comfortable when
you go back to that moment.
Yeah. I go back, I revisit that moment. I'll meditate and revisit that moment because I still remember. I have a very vivid memory. I have a very vivid memory, so I can remember things in amazing detail, and I can remember smells and colors and all that. And I remember I was working there, and I didn't have a car, I didn't have anything, so I'd wake up like super early, take a shower like I was going to work at a bank, you know what I mean? Get dressed, I swear to God, comb my hair, do all that, spray some cologne on, and I would show up, and I'm like, okay, I knew what I had to do, and I was in the back, literally, I was in the back. I was in those big ass refrigerators where there's like, he knows the story, big ass refrigerators in like sub-zero temperatures, and I'm like stocking things. I'm whistling like it's, yeah, like I'm a sailor, you know what I mean, going on his first voyage. Honest to God. And I would work there for a few hours, so then go work at the gas station. I used to work like 13 hours a day, and I remember taking a picture and sending it to my dad. I had my little gas station mobile name tag on. And that hurt my father. You know what I mean? It didn't hurt him because I was working. It hurt him because he knew I was better than that in a sense.
So did he at that moment feel like you were settling?
No, not at all. He knew that I was doing it for a reason. And he would tell me, if you want money, I'll send you money every single month. You know, my dad's one of those guys where, and it's in our culture as well. Our men in our culture are providers. They'll give you their last dime. You know what I mean? That's how my father is. Until this day, even if I make more money than he's ever made, you know what I mean? He'll even offer, when he comes visits us, take this check, pay the rent. What are you doing? Like that, what are you doing?
So I can pay my own rent.
Or we'll go to Costco and he'll be at the thing. Move. And he'll try to put his card down. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, you're coming to visit us. And he'll still pay. I'm like, okay, well. And at that time, you turn back, you're a kid again. You're like, okay, well, I just got some free groceries. And it's awesome. But yeah, I remember I sent him a picture. I had my gas station name tag, and he called me after it. And my dad's like a really tough guy. He won't cry, but you can tell like
he was hurting. His
voice cracks, and I know Ahmed can attest to this as well. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Dad, I need to do this." I was like, "I need to prove myself to you." He's like, "You don't have to prove anything to me." I was like, "Well, I gotta prove it to myself." And I was there for a few weeks, I think like a month and a half, and I couldn't take it on physically, not mentally. Physically, I didn't care about the pay because at the time I was making like $400 or $500 a week. That was the most money I've ever made in my life.
On your own.
Yeah, on my own. You know what I mean? Most money I've ever made.
But you were grateful.
I was super grateful because I'll tell you this. This is a very funny story I like to tell, and I wish I would have held on to it. But I remember I was walking back and forth every single day. It was like a 45-minute walk, and I was like, I can't keep walking. I was like, I can't afford a car. I didn't have any money. I had nobody. I didn't want to call anyone to send me money to buy a car. I was like, I got to figure this out on my own. I remember I went to Goodwill. I was like, okay, let me get a bike.
Let me get a
bike. And I go in. I'm like, okay, I don't want a pink one. I was like, okay, well, that doesn't look too bad. And I look at it. I'm like, okay, you do what anyone does, right? You test the brakes on it. You like shake it. I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't have brakes. I don't need to stop, I guess. And then the back tire was out. And I remember, dude, I walked into Goodwill. I was negotiating. They wanted 25. I was like, it's 20. 20 or nothing. You know what I mean? I got 20. I was, dude, that $5 at the time was like, that was a meal for me. You know what I mean? And then I was like, okay, well, I got a bike, but the tire's flat. was like, maybe I need some air. So I go to a bike shop and I'm like, okay, well, can you check it out? And at the bike shop, I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, maybe I can find a newer bike. And I'm looking at the prices. I'm like, $300 for a bike? I couldn't fathom it. I swear to God. And I remember when Sam Bakhtiar was on Omar's interview, he was like, he went to South Coast Plaza, if you guys recall, and he saw people buying shirts for like 30, 40, $50. And he was like, he can't imagine that. I couldn't imagine a $300 bike. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, how much is it going to cost to change it? He's like, well, that depends whether it needs a tube inside or if it needs air. I was like, what if it needs air? He's like, oh, no, 50 cents. I was like, okay, that's good. But what if it needs a tube? He's like, $15. I was like, whoa, how'd you come up with that? I was like, where'd you come up with $15? Oh, well, it's $5 for the tube and then $10 for labor. I was like, how long is this going to take?
You're like, I'll do it myself.
No, he's like, it'll take about 5 minutes for me to install the tube. I'm like, yo, are you hiring? You make it $10 5 minutes? I'm like, let me get a job with you. You know what I mean?
So at that point, every dollar counted.
Every single dollar. I lived for a year and a half. My daily budget, and he can attest to this, was $5 every single day. Never spend $1 more.
Wow.
And I saved my money, of course, to invest in my business. And he did the same. I was eating freaking Taco Bell every single day because they had that $5 taco box. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? That lunch box. And every single day, that was my lunch, my dinner, and everything. Because
I think it's amazing that you went in alone. And that you learned the true definition of being self-made, because you didn't ask for help. You could have asked for help at any time.
You could have taken that handout.
I asked for help, but not money. Never asked for money. Because help for me is, how do I figure this out? Can you help me get to the next level, right? And you can't shy away from asking for help, right? You always got to ask. A closed mouth never eats.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'll reach out to you guys whenever I have a question. I don't shy away from asking a question. You don't answer me, I'm unsending it and I'm sending it back. That's how it is.
The power of what? Elegantly persisting?
Elegantly persisting or being annoying, right?
Hey.
So at this time you went alone, and I know you went to Wisconsin. Can we touch base on that as well? When you found yourself in... Did you find yourself in Wisconsin?
Story.
No, I didn't. Okay. Wisconsin was kind of like... Is Bubba gonna watch this?
I probably, but don't. Yeah, don't.
Okay, cool. No, Wisconsin wasn't where I found myself. Wisconsin was kind of... I don't want to say... I think
it's where you found everything you didn't want to be.
Ooh.
I was going to say that, but thank you.
That's
pretty much, yeah. So I graduated, was in New York. I'm like, fuck, I can't afford to live. It's too expensive. People here I've known for too long. I don't want to be around this. So a buddy of mine was like, hey, come to Wisconsin, try out your luck here. You get a job, you don't, go back. I was like, cool. I want to get out of New York. Why the fuck not? Get to Wisconsin, I think it was November 3rd, 2015, and then I'm chilling there. It wasn't the best environment, to be honest with you. I was like, what the fuck am I around? I'm not used to this whole small town thing. Now, nothing against the people I stayed with. I'm so grateful for them. They taught me so many different things. They showed me a lot of different things, so shout out to them. But went to Wisconsin, got a job in like 3 weeks, and I was excited. I was like, this is my first job. This is great. Getting paid well. My expenses aren't that high. I can save up a decent amount of money. And my mentality at the time was exactly what I had been taught: 9 to 5, benefits.
Corporate.
Save up a little good nest egg.
Kind of work your way up. But always in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to start a business. And I met this guy. His name was Abdullah in Wisconsin. He owned 3 restaurants and like 3 clothing stores. And I was looking and I'm like, damn, I want that. I want to get to that point. So it's funny. I was talking to him recently too. And I was telling him, I was like, remember that day I told you I'm going to get everything that you have? I was like, look, this is what I'm doing now. I'm in the process. He's like, honestly, I thought you were fucking with me. I didn't believe you. He's like, good for you. He's like, I'm sorry I didn't believe in you, but I'm proud of you. And that was nice to hear. Wow. That was genuinely nice to hear from him. But he really put me on the path of kind of telling me how everything works with his store, how he gets inventory from here, how he runs his restaurant. He would show me things. So he was the... I don't want to say he was the person that put me on entrepreneurship, but he was a contributor. Mm-hmm. He really was. He contributed to it. But throughout my time in Wisconsin, it was literally just party, have fun, go to work. Sometimes I'd go to work and leave halfway through because they'd have a program where they would let you off. Anytime they'd have it, I'd take it. I didn't want to be there because throughout the job, I was literally just reading books or reading articles. I wasn't even doing the job because I'd finish the job in like 45 minutes, then have the rest of the day to do nothing. So it wasn't fulfilling for me, or it wasn't helping me grow in a sense. So I did that for about a year up until I went to California.
But I want to talk about how I got him to come to Cali. Because I was trying to push him so much, like, throughout the entire time. I was like, bro, come to Cali. What are you doing?
I was scared, to be honest with you. I was like, I'm comfortable here. You know, maybe I should do this 9-to-5 thing. Maybe it's the right thing. But he really was the reason that pushed me. He's like, look, dude, this is what I have.
I told him, I was like, I'm starting a business. I want you on board with me. Yeah. We could do this together.
He's like, we work like a...
Yeah, he moved in 2 weeks.
Wow.
2 weeks. It took him 2 weeks to get there. Because I told him, I was like, throughout the entire time when I was working...
Honestly, what really pushed me, though, before you go on, was I had gone to Egypt, and my dad was there, and it was the first time I saw him ever since I went to Wisconsin. He told me, he's like, dude, look, the only thing that I want from you is for you and your brother to be together. And I'm sitting there, I'm like... Fuck, it's so simple. I can make this happen for him, right? It'll bring him joy. And that's what pushed me to truly actually move. I was still hesitant. I was like, I built something, nothing crazy, but I built something.
A sustainable life.
Exactly. I have friends here. It took me a while to get these friends. It took me a while to build this network or social
circle.
Yeah, social circle that I've built in the job I'm at. But honestly, that what my dad said was what kind of spurred me on.
Yeah, so before that, to get back to where I left off, I was working at the gas station. It wasn't miserable, but I was like, okay, I gotta figure things out. But I was like, okay, I need money, I'll do it, whatever, it's good, it's not. But I was required to stand up on my feet 13 hours a day, and I'll never forget this. I took a bucket out the back. Right, I took a bucket out the back of the gas station. I just flipped it over and I sat down. And the boss was looking at me. He was watching me on camera. And then I go home. I'm beat. I had to ride my bike like 30 minutes to get home. And I wake up the next morning excited to go to work. I get a text. He's like, "We will no longer be needing you. We've already found a replacement." I was like, "Wait, what the fuck?" I was
No
like,
way.
"Yeah." So at the time, and I will never forget this. His name was Joe. At the time, and it's crazy, right? And I want to talk about this as well, that you don't realize when you're going through that funk that this is going to be something that you're going to tell people later on, and it's something that you're going to reflect back on. Like, you know what?
It's like a blessing in disguise.
It is. And when you have so much of those in your life, you start welcoming things to happen. I want to talk about that too, but yeah, so basically what happened was I was like, okay, well, I know where he's at. He's not responding to my text. Let me go to him. So I go in. I'm like, Joe, what's going on, man? He's like, yeah, no, it's cool, Amir. We don't need you anymore. I was like, what do you mean you don't need me? I was like, was I not doing the job? He's like, you were, but you sat down. I was like, is it a crime to sit down? I was like, Joe, you understand I work at your liquor store for 5 hours and I work at the gas station for another 8. I'm working 13 hours on my feet, brother. And he's like, yeah, well, you can't be sitting down on my shop. I was like, look, man, I'm not here to beg you for a job. I was like, tell me, I swear to God, I was like, tell me what I could have done to keep this job. What else was it that you saw that I was lacking that made you to make this decision? And he said something about me not knowing all these different IPAs. I was like, I don't freaking drink, I don't know beer. It's all the same. I'll put it on the shelf. And then he said something to me, but I couldn't believe it at the time. He's like, Amir, look, you're too good for this. He literally said that to me. He was like, you're too good for this. You don't belong here. You could do better. And I was like, I can't do better, man. Give me a job. I was like, I don't got no money.
At that point,
I didn't.
Yeah, no, if
he saw something.
And yeah, and then after that, I walk outside, and for me, it wasn't the job. It was I failed.
Yeah,
I called him in Wisconsin. I'm in tears. Literally, I'm in tears over a freaking gas station job. And it wasn't the job again. This was the first 2 months for me in California, and I was like, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. Nothing's gonna stop me. And then I got hit with a roadblock, right? I didn't want to call my dad and tell him. That was like the biggest thing for me. So I called my brother. I was like, bro, I got fired, and I'm crying. I was like, and all I could say, and he can remember this, I didn't fail. I swear to God, I didn't fail. I didn't fail. And he told me, he's like, what are you crying for? Get your ass back up. Go find another job. It was a fucking gas station. What are you crying about?
Damn, just like that.
And I was, at the time, obviously, I was 22. I was like this was like 3.5 years ago, so I was younger. I didn't have the insight that I do now. Now I don't vent, and I made a video about that guy. I don't know if you guys saw it. All I wanted to do was vent at the time, and I was like, how can my older brother not even freaking hear me out? I wanted him to contribute to, yeah, man, it's okay. You get what I mean? Like, But he was like, get your fucking ass up. Go get yourself another job.
It was that tough love, right?
100%. So after that, I was like, okay, I wiped my tears. I had my bicycle. I was like, okay, let me ride around. Literally, I'm like Smokey in the movie Friday. I'm like riding around on my bike. And I'm like, I hit up every single store. I go to Subway. I'm like, hey, you guys hiring? Oh, go online, fill out an application.
Oh, you went to McDonald's too that same day.
I went everywhere.
They're like,
I was
go
at
online.
They go online. I'm like, bro, it's flipping burgers. Why can't you just? I'm here right now. What's up? You know what I mean? You want my resume? I'll pull it up right now. And then I was like, okay, well, this isn't gonna work. Let me see what this online thing is. And I go online. I applied to like 1,200 jobs, and I got one response. And I was doing like full applications with cover letters, and I was applying to executive positions. You know what I mean? They were paying $150K a year, and I was applying to valet parking positions and dishwashing positions, anything and everything. At that point, I would have taken any job. I was even doing like 30-second video interview things. Hi, my name's Amir. This and that. You know, and sending it off. I was doing everything. And I got one response. And at the time, I was living up in the valley. I was in Santa Clarita. And I got a response from an insurance agency down in Walnut, California, not too far. That's where actually Omar's from. And I don't know if I should have said that.
You
now
probably should
have. It's okay.
You guys can edit that out. Right?
He know it's on his LinkedIn. People know. Oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that either. No. But yeah, I got a call from them, and they were telling me that they were responding back to my application. They did like I think it was like a 5-minute over the phone interview, and I was excited, man. I was like, finally. And I was looking at the ad, bonus plus commission plus salary, and I was like, okay, this is for me. I want to get paid for my value, not just my time.
Right.
2 weeks go by, I don't hear back from them. So I pick up the phone, I call them, like, hey, you guys called me 2 weeks ago. I was supposed to get an interview with the boss. Is she available? Oh no, she's out of town. I was like, okay. The only way this is gonna work, and I knew the reason why they didn't want to hire me is because I'm 70 miles away. I'm in Santa Clarita.
Oh yes, definitely.
So this was my second leap of faith. I packed up.
And you moved.
I rented a car. I went out to Walnut. I saw a room for rent, and I moved out there. Wow. Then the very next day, I didn't even have a suit at the time. I just put on a dress shirt, pair of jeans. I walked in, I was like, hey, I know you guys are still hiring. I saw your ad still online. You guys called me. I'm here. I want an interview. I'm telling you I can do this job. And obviously you got to get through the gatekeeper, right? So the manager was like, yeah, let me talk to the boss. And she goes inside, and before she could even go inside, the boss walked out because she heard me. She's like, hey, my name's blank. I introduced myself. I sat down with her. I told her, I was like, look, I'm hungry. I can do this job. Just show me how to do it. I promise you I'll be the best.
Wow.
And she's like, when can you start? I was like, I can clock in right now.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And she's like, okay, it was Friday. She's like, no, slow down. We'll start you Monday. And I remember that day I was so happy. I walked outside. I felt like I was the king of the world.
Wow.
I called my dad. I was like, Bubba, you'll never guess what happened. I got a job. And I told him how I got it. And I think I called the men after that as well. And everyone was so proud of me. And that's when I realized the power of just freaking taking action. And then I started working, and my first month was the best month. My second month was the best month. Better? Everything. I stayed there for like four months, and I transitioned to another company, Allstate, which is, bleep that out. We don't endorse companies. I'm kidding. But yeah. So in a few weeks ago, and to give you some context, right before my Sam Bakhtiar interview, I went back to my old boss, the first person that believed in me, because I didn't know what I was doing. I swear to God, I left the house at 7 o'clock. I'm in my car driving around, and what I typically do is whenever I'm like looking for inspiration, I go back to the places that I started off at, and I sit there, and I swear to God, I'll sit in my car, and I'm sitting in a $100,000 6 Series, you know what I mean? And I'm looking. I was like, I was walking out of that house, and I'm like, okay, this is the path that I took, and I would go sit at the bus stop right there, you know what I mean?
Trying to tap into that emotion.
I'm
right?
seeing myself at a young age, you know what I mean? I was happy, because I knew I was working towards something. And then right before the Sam Bakhtiar interview, I was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So I went back to her. And this was like, I quit her office like on a day's notice. I was like, I didn't feel like I was being treated fairly. I was young, I was stupid, I was naive. She was a great person. And I just took another opportunity. But I went back to her for the first time in 3 years, and something I've always been meaning to do. When I walked in, and she was so happy to see me. I didn't know how she was gonna react seeing me, because I literally quit. And if someone would have quit my business,
yeah, for sure.
you know what I mean? And she hugged me, and we sat down, and she was like, "I'm so happy to see you. Look at you. You look so great. Oh my God." She couldn't believe that it was me. And I asked her. We had a great conversation, of course, going back and forth. I told her all the great things that I've accomplished, gave her credit where credit was due. And I asked her, I was like, "Ida," I dropped her name. Okay, I was like, "Ida," I was like, "Can you answer me?" I told her, I was like, "I'm starting this podcast. I'm going to interview this multi-million-dollar CEO, $100 million CEO. I was like, "I'm looking for inspiration." I was like, "What was it that you saw in me the day that I walked in? That first day?" And she paused for a second. And she was like, "Your hunger to learn." She's like, "You always had a hunger to learn. You were always hungry." And she was like, "Ever since you left my office, I've been looking for someone to replace the role that you left." She's like, "Ever since you left my office 3 years ago, you still have the highest production record. You still have the highest call volume record." She's like, "You were always hungry. Anytime you would ask me a question, you would ask me 10 questions after it following." And I was like, "You used to get annoyed by that." She's like, "I did, but I didn't realize how much you were hungry, how much you wanted this." She just thought I was just someone who came to make a paycheck. That wasn't it for me. And whenever I approach something, and Mike can say the same, he does the same thing. Whenever we approach something, we're here for you. We're gonna take it as far as we can go. We're not at the ground level. We're at the ground level looking up.
Wow.
And we want the blueprints.
That's powerful, man.
We want the blueprints.
You
And
always
after
wanna
we
be
get
the
off
best, dude.
after
You
we
always
finish
want to
this,
be the
wrap
best.
up this interview, we're gonna talk to you about all this right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So can we fast forward a bit, because you had reached out to him in Wisconsin. You're like, "Hey, bro, I have a business venture that you need to be a part of." He came in, and how did that start, the business itself?
We've always believed in each other.
Yeah, but it didn't start right away. So I had never done sales before. I really didn't. I was a very, very shy person, very withdrawn.
Both of us. If you would have asked me 3 years ago to be on this, I wouldn't even be here.
Yeah, to be honest with you, like, he told me, "Come, we're gonna go ahead and start this." We didn't know exactly when. We're like, "Okay, well, we'll, learn it from the ground up."
Mm-hmm.
So started working with the company, and in my head, I'm like, "Fuck, how am I gonna do sales? I hate talking to people, right? I'm an introvert by
Heart, right?
by
By
heart,
nature.
exactly. By nature, I'm an introvert. So I like to I love my alone time. Love kind of reflecting, doing my own thing. But now I had to put myself out there, right? 2 days of training, literally, that's all I got to learn a brand new skill. And that was the best thing that I ever did, because it forced me to kind of change the way I thought. When I would get someone on the phone, I was so quiet at the beginning, but as I progressed, it taught me something, that we all have the same feelings. So if I'm scared to talk to someone random, there's everybody else has that same feeling. So the mind shift that came for me when it came to doing sales was, think of everybody as your best friend. Think of
Yes.
everybody as your best friend, and it really does change everything, because now you're talking to them as yourself, right? You're not
Yes.
trying to sugarcoat anything. You're being genuine with them, and that made this change in my sales career. To be honest with you, I remember we were working at this agent. It was me and Amir in July. That was one of the best months that we've ever had. Honestly, that was one of the happiest months, because me and him were competing, but it was friendly competition, because like, he would get a sale, I would get a sale, and then I see that he was a little down, so I would throw him something, like, sales wise, and then he would do the same for me. But he initiated, though.
We would just throw things to each other.
We would just throw things to each other.
But to answer your question, Gift, I had a vision. He always believed in me, and I've always believed in him. Anytime he throws something at me, we're talking how to do it, not why can't we do it? Or, no, it's not possible. He'll never shoot anything I say down. And of course, this podcast, a lot of people won't understand that what we're trying to do, but he was on board for it. You know what I mean? Not to jump too far out, but I told him, I was like, "This is what I'm going to do. This is a leap of faith." And at that point, I was just used to, rolling the dice every like few months. Something would happen where I had to change my life entirely. It was there was a lot of turmoil at that time. But yeah, I was like, "Bro, I'm starting this. I got this going.
Moved out, got a place.
I was like, "Come through." I got a place before he came. I furnished the entire spot. So, shout out to the Salvation Army. Got everything from the Salvation.
$300 for a whole
I
apartment.
furnished an apartment for $345. Refrigerator, Wait, not the mattress. I did not buy the mattresses from Salvation. Okay, we were
we
on some good mattresses. I bought the mattresses new. I was like,
we weren't sleeping on used mattresses. That's for
yeah,
sure.
but everything
Let's
else.
make that clear.
Yeah, but everything else just had to do what I had to do,
Yeah.
and he came through. Of course, we had to get reactivated. What's the word? We had to readjust to each other.
Right.
Yeah, we argued a lot. We were throwing fists and get the hell out of here. But after time, that didn't last long though. It was like 3 months because I haven't seen you in a year and a half. You know
we gotta duke it out for a bit.
We had to duke it out, and then that's it. The moment we started our business, that was like,
dude, that was the changing point. That was
for both of us. Yeah.
That was the point where we were like, okay, fuck. Now if we don't work, we don't eat.
Yeah, because we're hunters now. We're not gatherers, right? You eat what you kill.
And that's what it was.
I'm not here with I'm not Tom Sawyer with my bowl of give me some more porridge, you know what I mean?
Dude, we hired people 3 months before we started. We were out like
$40-something thousand.
I think a little bit more before we started. We were out like $60,000 before we even started.
Mm-hmm.
Before
day
day
one. We put a lot
one.
of money into it. We put a lot of money, and that's was money. Whenever it comes to raising money when you don't have it, I've learned this method. It's called the 3 F's. You call friends, family, and fools.
Ooh.
Friends, family, and
That's
fools.
powerful.
Anyone that would give us money, we took money from. You know what I mean?
And that's how you guys were able to raise it for the investment.
Of course, a capital investment, yeah, and we got through. It was difficult because you can't keep people busy before you have a business, right? But you need people ready so when the business starts. And then people will leave, you spend money, this, and that.
Dude,
the business was great.
3 weeks before we started,
we had
3
no
weeks.
staff.
He was in you were in Sacramento.
Yeah.
We lost 6 people. Everybody left. 3 weeks before we started, now we're like, fuck, we need these people to be able to start. Literally hired like 6 people a week before, trained them, hit the ground running.
We hired 13 people. 6 or 7 people showed up because I had 13 people on my system.
You had 13 people on the system, but every single one came for a while. Like you had someone came in for 2 days, you had someone leave the same day.
We just shotgunned the entire business.
So how long did you guys have the business for?
We've had it right now for about almost 2 years right now.
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years, yeah.
So let's fast forward just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So remember when we were at the mastermind, we had dinner with you, and you mentioned you had to have that conversation with your dad.
Yeah.
Where you told him, look.
Yeah.
I have the money, I have my businesses, I have the cars, you have everything
Atlanta, Georgia.
materialistic wise.
I had everything.
But you were still feeling unfulfilled.
I had a hole in my heart. It wasn't even
When
unfulfilled.
did you realize that? And when did you decide to take action to give it all up to fulfill your true purpose?
The day I decided to take action was March. No, it was March. I was in New York. It was a conversation that was up in the air. I was actually getting married to my wife, our first wedding.
It was slow building though. Like,
it was slow
building.
building.
About it. Maybe we should get out.
No. I'm not talking about the business. I'm talking about when I made a decision to live a life full of fulfillment. It was right before I got married to my wife. I was in New York, and I had a buddy of mine that came with me, and I was like, "Hey, man, I want to start a podcast." And he gave me some tips, and we're in the car. Matt's driving. My mom, my dad, and my sister in the car, and I was on the phone for like an hour and a half talking to 2 of my buddies. I was like, we got to do this, this and that. And they were fueled, motivated in the beginning. And for me, whenever I start something new, I want someone to hold my hand. Like, right? You want that.
Absolutely.
Nah, not anymore, though. I'll do anything on my own. I don't care anymore. But at the time, I was like, I was waiting on them. And they were dragging their feet. And I was trying to get them on the phones. I'm like, hey. And I was like, okay, you know what? I got to figure this out on my own. And to go back to what I mentioned to you guys before at the dinner, I know my potential. And even when I say I know it, I know I'm short selling it as well because I know my potential far exceeds what I personally think I can do. Right? Grant Cardone, he said this to me when I interviewed him. He was like, people don't have big enough goals. Because you could ask me what my goal is right now. I'll be like, maybe I want to do real estate. I want to do this. I want to do the podcast, but if I had to pinpoint how many people realistically do I want to reach, if I get 1 million people, and that's like me shooting for the stars, right? If I get 1 million people to tune into my podcast, I'll be ecstatic. But then someone from a bigger caliber will always challenge you, and this goes back to this will go back to the people that you surround yourself with, because at time, dude, if I'm around my buddies that I grew up with, they see me Mr. Flashy, this and that, they think I'm on the moon, you know what I mean? But if I get around people who are far more successful, far more fulfilled,
they'll push
dude, I would shy away from even telling him what I do. I'd be like, I sell insurance. You know what I mean? That's how it is. Yeah. But again, we were to say 1 million to us, both of us, if we're just sitting, oh yeah, we want to do 1 million, we'll celebrate each other. If I tell someone like Grant Cardone, I want to have 1 million people, he'll just laugh at me. He's like, you're not thinking big enough.
Wow.
And it takes experience and it takes wisdom for you to understand that statement. The moment you believe it, you change your life, because it takes a decision to change your life. And I've always said this throughout, even when I was like younger, when I didn't know all that I know today and I didn't have these great mentors in my life, I gravitated towards Omar. And
so can we get into that, the podcast, the Let's Get Real podcast?
Yeah.
So you got guests such as Grant Cardone, Sam Bakhtiar.
We're still working on a few big names. Omar always says, and I don't know if you guys saw his Wolf on Wall Street interview, start with the big ones. Start with the big ones. And that's going to be my method from now. I've always done that. I shotgun everything I do, and I always want to be the best.
And we just had that conversation yesterday, actually. I said, look, what we're doing is great for our first one, but we need to go big. Let's not sell ourselves short.
And every single person that you get is a leverage to the next.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. For both of you guys, for the viewers at home, what's a piece of advice that you can give to a young entrepreneur that's starting a podcast or starting a business? Just
podcast or business?
Yeah.
So my mentor tells me, start with the end in mind. And I'll let him obviously give his input. Start with the end in mind. How big do you wanna grow it, right? How much money do you want to make? If you have that figure in mind, you'll figure it out as you go. And sometimes you'll do even more, because when we started our business, we had a figure in mind that right now, if we made that kind of money, we'd laugh at it.
Yeah.
We'd laugh at it. Honest to God, like, yo, if we can just make this, and then you make a few multipliers on top of that, you know what I mean? And you're just chilling.
Yeah.
So I would advise people to start with the end in mind, to take advice from those who are qualified. That's something that I wish, if I could go back in time, you know how they always ask you, what would be one piece of advice when you're 20? Well, I'm still 20 something, but if I could go back to my 12-year-old self and I could give him advice, I would tell him, don't take advice from people who have not done the things that you want to do. Because when you're young, the words that you're told are basically engraved in your cranium. If you're told, I remember, and this is funny, and I was thinking about this 2 days ago. Me and my wife were at the mall. My entire life as a child, and I can attest to this, it was funny. I couldn't have Italian ice in New York. You know those Italian ice? I don't know if it's the same here. Those Italian ice carts that push, because my mom's friend's son got diarrhea. I swear to God. So my entire life, I'm like.
So it was word of mouth. You were just.
No, but it's because I was told that at a young age. So now it's programmed into my mind. And I was like, no. And the same will apply. And for my entire life, dude, I never came next to it. Anyone that would say Italian, I'm like, bro, you get diarrhea from that. I thought it was like automatic. Yeah. And then me and my wife were at the mall and we passed by. I was like, let me try this. I'm like, yo, this shit is bomb, bro. I'm like, this shit is so good.
Missing out on it.
But again, you get advice from the wrong people and they tell you, because you'll hear it all the time. The stock market's for people who want to lose their money, right? Because someone lost $500 in the stock market. You can't make money in real estate because it's difficult. 98% of people in real estate only make X amount of dollars, so that's all you think about now. Yeah. Learn how to filter what you listen to. Right now, I can literally switch my mind off when I talk to someone who's giving me bullshit. It'll go through one ear and come out the other. So that's a piece of advice I give young entrepreneurs wanting to start a business, wanting to start a podcast.
So for me, the best advice I'd give to anyone in general, not just entrepreneurs, is always ask for what you want. The worst people can say to you is no, and then you're no worse off than.
Yeah, the answer is always no if you don't ask.
Yeah,
you looked at me,
I was looking this way.
That's great.
And I do have a question too. So Omar. What made you pick Omar as your mentor? How did you know it was him?
Well, when you start reading self-development books, when you start reading business books, and you start watching podcasts, every single successful person will say, find a mentor. I'm like, what you mean find one, bro? Where do you find them at? Do you just like knock on people's doors? Exactly. Like I get it. Okay, mentorship's important, but at the time I didn't understand, how do I get a mentor? I didn't realize that there's other avenues that you can explore, because not every mentor is a good mentor, right? Because we have mentors in every single aspect of our lives. We have people telling us how to dress, how to drive, how to do this, how to do that. And some advice that's unsolicited isn't always the best advice, and not all advice is good advice. But with Omar, for me, I just religiously, and it's not often that I obsess over something. It really isn't. Because I'll be interested in something, I'll be like, okay, well, I can move past it. But you could even ask him. He was staying at my house for a few weeks. I was watching every single interview like 2-3 times, and I would stop, and I would, for the first time, dude, I was like, holy shit, you know what I mean? I was like, how do you even think of that question? Because I whenever I watch podcast interviews, I'm like, okay, I would have asked this, or ask this next, you know what I mean? And sometimes I'd be like, ask this next, and he would already ask it, and it was crazy. And then, of course, I didn't know this at the time, but the name Omar Elattar, I was like, okay, that's my language right there, you know what I mean? And we always gravitate to what's familiar, especially at times of pain, right? The times you take massive action, like hiring someone like Omar to be my mentor, that came from pain, believe that. I wasn't dandy, life wasn't amazing, and I was like, okay, let me go drop a few thousand racks on it, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that. I was in a very low stage, and a med saw it. I was lost, I was unfulfilled. I knew I had a message. I knew that all my life, like, people, when I talk, they listen. I was like, how can I turn this into something? I was like, this guy. And I swore to myself. I was like, I'm going to get this guy's attention. I was like, every single day, I was like, I don't care how long it takes. If I gotta hit this guy up every single day for the next 3, 4, 5 years, he's getting a text from me. And that's what I was doing. I was DMing him every single day. And I think it took maybe 7 to 8 days or something within that time frame for him to notice me. And when he noticed me, he's like, you don't give up. I was like, I never will.
That's amazing. That's amazing. For everyone at home that is seeking a mentor, because mentorship is important, you need to get yourself a mentor. And if you don't have one, think big, work small. David Albanese, he has an amazing mastermind and mentorship program. Another thing, people, they have these dreams, but they don't have the money. They don't have the capital. Think big, work small. He's going to invest in you. That's no longer an excuse. The capital's there, and he's going to teach you how to take immediate action. We have a game that we always play here, guys, and it's from the deck. And we're not asking these questions. The deck is asking these. So feel free to take one. I need to pass it over here. Yeah.
You can go.
I need to think about this. My question is, what do you need to unlearn?
Wow,
that's a good question. What do I need to unlearn? It's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
How about you?
I spent a few years of my life unlearning things. I spent maybe the past 2 or 3 years unlearning everything that I thought was true. I had to unlearn how to play within the lines. And I wrote that. I don't know if you guys saw my IG story a few days ago. People play the game not to lose and not realize that they're not winning. I had to unlearn the whole I don't want to lose. I had to unlearn my conservative spending, because I told you guys I was spending like $5-6 a day. I didn't realize that conservative or that scarcity mindset would trickle down into other places in my life. Now I don't care if I don't have money coming in. It may sound foolish. I don't care how my situation is. I'm going to live the same way that I'm living today, if not better, in order to encourage myself and push my mind to find new solutions. I'm not going to compromise on anything, because this is a launch pad for me. But I just answered his question. You want me to answer mine, or you thought about your answer?
Go ahead, answer yours.
What's your question, Amir?
What type of people do you want to be around? This is a great question, because I love being around people like you guys. That mastermind, I know that all of us felt like we were like, oh my God, these people understand me. And you
didn't feel crazy.
I didn't feel crazy at all. You know what I mean? But sometimes I hate having to dumb myself down. Because I consider myself, I don't want to make it seem like I'm a genius, but I consider myself an intellectual, and I think all of us do as well. I can give you references from a ton of books. I can give you references from a ton of videos and documentaries I've watched. So I don't like being around people who I just have to feed into their bullshit just to have the conversation. I don't know if you guys have ever been in that position where you can't be yourself, and yourself is someone that can elevate them, but they're just so against growth.
Or you're doing too much, and it always feels like you have to kind of settle.
When I was younger, dude, when I was like 18, 19, I would still talk about business because I went to business school, and that was a turning point in my life. And every single time I'd open my mouth, my buddy, a really close friend of mine, would be like, oh my God, here he goes again with that bullshit. I'm like, bro, listen, you might learn something. And I would have to just freaking talk about girls and clubs and this and that. And I had to feed into that. So the type of people I want to be around are the people that make me uncomfortable. Because the people that make me uncomfortable are the people that keep me on my toes. Whenever I'm around great people like you guys, whenever I'm around Omar, I'm very conscious of what I say. I'm very conscious of how I act, how I present myself. When you're in the presence of someone of the caliber of Grant Cardone, you're thinking, yo, is my shoe tied? Are my shoes tied? Oh shit, I don't even have laces on. You know what I mean? These are slip-ons. Like, that's how attentive you are to your environment, attentive you are to your mannerisms, your behavior. So I would definitely want to be around people who make me uncomfortable, because that uncomfort, you realize it when it's such a reoccurring theme in your life. And it's, you know that saying where they say everything that you want is on the other side of fear?
Yes.
What happens right before fear? You feel uncomfortable because there's uncertainty. And it's funny because I've been listening to this audiobook, and I'll give you guys the name of it once we're done with this podcast, we wrap this up. It talks about how fear is the only emotion that you can feel in the future. Everything else is in the present. Anxiety is present, right? But fear, what am I fearful of? Because once that in which I'm afraid of occurs, what happens? I can feel happy because
it's pure bliss.
I can feel bliss, or I can feel angry, right? Because sometimes you'll be afraid of losing your job, and then you lose it and you're pissed off. You're afraid of losing that relationship, you lose it, you're angry, or you're happy because now you don't got to deal with the bullshit.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. I know that every single time I felt uncomfortable, when I was 22 or 23, walking into a Fortune 100 company, asking them to allow me to be a franchisee, I was sweating bullets. I was a little kid. I couldn't even grow a beard at the time. You know what I mean? And I walked in and I sat down like I was a businessman. And when I walked out, I was like, whew. You know what I mean?
That's how I felt our first interview.
Yeah. And then
back to my question. So the one thing I do want to unlearn is it's okay to not always be happy. People expect you to always be this positive, great role model, whatever it is. It's okay to feel down. It really is. It's just part of the positivity that you have. You're also gonna have these negative thoughts. It's just what you do with these negative thoughts. So that's the one thing that I'm glad I'm in the process of unlearning.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we want to say thank you guys so much for being on.
Thank you for having us, man. I appreciate it.
I do have one more question.
Shoot.
What is next?
Oh,
what is next with the podcast, the future?
With the podcast, with your upcoming, future as far as your entrepreneur. Just what is next for you two?
Real estate would be a big one.
Yeah, real estate is always something I've considered. And I saw that you guys went to Tony Robbins' real estate wealth generation, or you did?
Yeah.
Was that here in LA?
Yeah, it was in LA.
Was this like recently?
No,
or?
this was about a year and a half.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, so definitely real estate, but what's next for me, if you ask me what I close my eyes and meditate on every single time, every day that I meditate, I want to be of the caliber of people like Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi. I want to fly around the world with my family and stand on stage and address millions and millions of people. And because I'm saying this today in this mic, I'm prophesizing it.
Yes.
Because this video is going to be played over and over again. And the more people that hear it, the more that it becomes a reality than a thought. So I'll leave you guys with that.
That's amazing.
I love that.
That is awesome. For me, I love what he said. I'm going to become the best salesperson in this world. I've said it multiple times, and it's going to happen. And then I'm going to teach people how to do it. Like, I just did my first training seminar maybe 2-3 weeks. So I'm going to make sure they all succeed, and they're going to get to the next level because they are a testament to me. Their success is a testament to me. So for me, what gives me the most fulfillment is teaching. And I really genuinely do enjoy teaching. So that I'm going to do something amazing with that. I'm going to teach people how to sell. and grow their business.
That is amazing. Well, first and foremost, guys, we just want to say thank you
for been a pleasure.
Us your time and for sharing your guys' story.
Appreciate the platform.
It's truly incredible. If you can just tell our guests and our audience where they can find you on social media.
My social media is Amir._Helaly. My last name, Helaly. Podcast is launching sometime next month, so stay tuned for that. We got Sam Bakhtiar, we got Grant Cardone, and I'm working on a few big names. So great interviews, great individuals, a lot of gems you guys could take out of that. And I can't wait to see what's next.
So you guys can follow me at Ahmed, spelled AHMED, 2_, Helaly, which is spelled HELALY, 92. You can follow my Instagram at any time.
Awesome. For any of our listeners and our audience out there, if this message resonated with any of you guys, like it, comment below, let us know your thoughts, share this. And, if this message gets around, as long as we can provide you guys knowledge, wisdom, and value, that is our goal.
Follow us on the Unbreakables Podcast on Instagram, LinkedIn. Follow us on Facebook at the Unbreakables Podcast, Jay Mergs and Gift the Poet. Follow myself on Instagram at _GiftThePoet_. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 6. You guys aren't going to want to miss episode 7. We have someone amazing, someone very humble, someone who is going to teach you guys a lot. And stay tuned, guys.
Unbreakable.